Hello viewers, this is Brian from Less Magic More Gathering. I am today going to do this deck tech for the Timestream Navigator that we selected last week and that we did some brainstorm video on Monday. Keith was on video earlier selecting the card for next week and gave you some a little bit of a intro to this and explained some of the situations I was in when I played it at work through the week. But I did play it a few times at home before I went to work to try this out, and it played pretty well, actually, against my nephew's deck that he had put together, so I can't complain about it. There's a couple different things we did, or I did, to change it in the last, after a few of the attempted games that we played. I mean, obviously he explained how they stole the Combat Celebrant and the Timestream Navigator with the I can't even remember the name of the card now, but anyways, it took it from that one, for the one card, Hostage Taker. That's it. So it took it from, used Hostage Taker and pretty much played against me, and it was a two-headed giant. So the other guy happened to have Mirage Mirror, which was an option that we thought to put in this deck, but we weren't sure how many different other copies or other, like, you know, things that we needed to have in this deck. So we just went with the Protean Raider to use that one. So we'll just get into this now, and we'll start obviously from the top. Timestream Navigator is the card that we were using, decided to use for our, well, decided to, we drew this, it was a random draw, and I went with 4 copies of this. Didn't actually get all 4 copies, I got 2. I thought I had a third and fourth one, so we kind of had to do a half proxy version just so we could play the deck out as is. So I went with 4 copies of that one. Obviously, it has to have Ascend so that it can use this ability, which means it gives you another turn. The way we set this up, hopefully it will work out the way we wanted it to. And it did, but unfortunately it worked out in the opponent's favor for that game. Not a big deal. There's always adjustments you can make on a sideboard. We'll talk about that at the end. I didn't put a sideboard together, but just some general stuff that I think would have maybe helped prevent that. I'm not sure what we get rid of, but we'll talk about that in a minute. So the 4 copies of Timestream Navigator, and then went with 4 copies of Warkite Marauder. I like it because it helps establish defense, sort of in a way, against a flying opponent, or even any opponent for that matter. So if you're swinging with what you may not have an unblockable out there, but it helps because it turns that one creature into an 0/1. So having 4 copies of that's kind of beneficial. Plus, it can be a target, especially if somebody's playing a heavy big creature deck that they don't want their creature minimized to an 0/1. Understandable. So that's a 1 copy we went with 4 copies of. And then, like I said earlier, the Protean Raider. Went ahead and put 3 copies of that in there. And this helps because you can copy multiple things depending on the situation. So you attack with a creature and you want to copy Timestream Navigator to use it next turn, or however you want to do it. You can copy it so that you have multiple options with Timestream Navigator, you know, a turn after the other, and then the next turn do it again, but with the Protean Raider copy, or just give them another target. So if they want to get rid of the first one, then they got a second one to get rid of too, or Warkite Marauder, or anything that you might want to copy during that situation. So it went with 3 of those. Also went with 3 of the Stormfleet Sprinters. Put 3 of those in there for the unblockable option for that. Obviously, haste helps out because you can swing right away. So that's also something else you can copy with the Protean Raider if you don't worry about the haste option, but it gives you another unblockable if you want to go heavy on unblockable, so you can copy that. And then also went with 3 copies of Slippery Scoundrel, another pirate. 2/2, unblockable only during the Ascend option. So obviously that plays in the same factor as the Timestream Navigator, to where you can't use that option until that such time. But if you're already in that Ascend, then having a hexproof 2/2 unblockable out there is great, because now if your Stormfleet Sprinter gets killed off, then these are still out there because they can't be killed off unless you use them for blocking, of course. And then, so that we had the other option, Combat Celebrant. I reduced it down to 2. I liked having a couple of them out there, but with the Protean Raider available and having one of these on the field of play, you can copy that as well. So I think having more than the 2 might have been a bit much, and we'd lost options on some other things. So I just went with the 2 on the Combat Celebrant, so that we could, you know, have that extra attack phase if that does apply. I also went with 2 copies of the Ahn-Crop Crasher. This is beneficial to other certain things. I mean, it helps because we do have a few unblockables, but not all of them are unblockable. So obviously, depending on their creature count, by yourself, maybe, since there's not a lot of removal spells in this deck, you're hoping maybe that they're not super creature heavy, so when you do swing with Combat Celebrant and you swing with this, that obviously untaps him after you've exerted. Plus, if you need to keep a creature from blocking so that they don't kill Combat Celebrant, because you know he's only a toughness of 1, that helps out. So that's just kind of an additional option. It allows you to protect some of your creatures during a combat phase. And then 2 copies of the Siren Stormtamer, which is just pretty much a 1-drop creature, 1/1 flying. So obviously a nuisance of flying, but then if you decide to sacrifice it and pay 1, you can use it as a counter spell if something targets you or your creatures. So that's beneficial. So that gives you kind of a two-way option, a creature or a counter spell. So that's the creature base that we have for this this setup. And then so we'll go into something else that we decided, because we thought maybe we would need some haste options. So Strider Harness is something we went with. It obviously gives a 1/1, and then you can equip it to a creature that comes in up and gives them haste. So if you pay the 3 costs for Combat Celebrant, and then you pay, and this is already out there obviously because it's going to be too expensive if it's not, but if it's already out there, then you pay 1 more. Now you've given it a 5/2 with haste. So hopefully that 2 defense will make it a little bit tougher to kill when you do exert with it. But even if it doesn't, the exert still applies. So if they do kill it off, you still get that second combat phase. So went ahead and just put 2 of those in there for that option. That applies for a lot of things. So you can give that to your Warkite Marauder or any of your other 2/2 creatures that are unblockable. Even though the haste applies for the Stormfleet Sprinter, but who cares at that point? If you pump it up to a 3, that's a little bit more damage that they're going to get. So that's the artifact we'll put in this. And then onto the spells, of course. Decided to go with Dive Down, which is always beneficial. It's a great card, and obviously any play for that standard play that you have. It is blue, so we're going to, obviously it's still blue-red setup. But it's a 1-drop, hexproof 0/3, you know how that works. And that's obviously to protect about anything you have. It gives you that option too, so if somebody's swinging with something that's not quite strong enough to kill most of your creatures, or would kill most of your creatures, that +0/+3 will protect them for at least 1 round of blocking. So that's a secondary option with that. So Dive Down, we got to protect some of our creatures. Another way to protect them, obviously, is a negate. So if they're throwing a Fatal Push or Walk the Plank or something at you, or even Impale, so you can stop that, save that creature. Only went with 2 copies. Might increase that to 4, 3 to 4 possibly, depending on how we see fit. Maybe have some of those in the sideboard to increase your protection chances. Really, it's just all about the draw. That's really what happened to me. The first time I played it against my nephew, I had great draw, everything I needed, and got what I wanted out of the game. When I played it at work, I had draws, but I just didn't get the combos. I had the cards out there I needed, but by the time I was able to use them, he'd already taken them with Hostage Taker. So that hurt, and not having stuff to negate a creature, which is probably the option to a sideboard in that case, since there's only so many take control creature options, least permanent take control. I guess Essence Scatter could be something thrown into a sideboard. But we'll get to that here in a little bit. And then went ahead and went to Dramatic Reversal, which gives you the untap option. So if you are needing to untap some of those creatures before you get to that second combat phase, or before you get to that second turn with Timestream Navigator, if Combat Celebrant's still out in the field and he's already been tapped and exerted, then you can untap him real quick, and then the next turn hopefully you can play the Timestream Navigator and he's ready to go. You don't have to wait and miss that turn for him to attack the second time around. There's an option for it. It was just thrown in there to see how that would work, and didn't really get a chance to use it, so I'm not sure. But that could be, if you believe that's going to work for this deck, if you decided to run with something similar to that, you can always swap it out for something else, maybe a different creature, or the other 2 negates, or Essence Scatter for that matter, on your sideboard. And the thing that's really the kicker for this, because there's multiple pirates, or a few handful of pirates, this Buccaneer's Bravado, which I've used in another red-blue deck. It's great for pirates, obviously. It works for anything that you need first strike for, but pirates is the kicker too, because it's double strike. So if you're hitting that Stormfleet Sprinter, that's a 6 coming at him, because it gives them +1/+1. Same with the Slippery Scoundrel, or even the Warkite Marauder. So there's a lot of options with this, but that's a must. There's other things you can do to increase the strength of your creature if they're unblockable. This was just kind of the way we went with this one, and I'm sure some other people might think it's not the best way, but hey, you know what? We're here just to put some decks together, and we did some brainstorming, and that's what we came up with. So If it doesn't suit you, you can still use this idea with the Timestream Navigator and even the Combat Celebrant and do something a little different. That's entirely up to you. The lands, however, were about even, 10 and 10, and then we went ahead and threw in 4 Highland Lakes. Now, I know we were thinking Spire Bluff Canal, but they are a pricey card, and I wasn't willing to mess with trying to buy those this time just for this deck. Brainstorming / put together deck tech that we have going on. So, but this will still work. It worked actually pretty good when I played it a few times. I got all the lands I needed, and so I didn't have to worry about the fast land part of it. But so there's the deck, Timestream Navigator deck. I'm hoping everybody that is watching these videos looks at some of the ideas we have and uses them for themselves when they put a deck together. As you saw in the video earlier, Keith had already picked a card out. We got a Lathnu Hellion. It's a fun card, I guess. You really definitely have to have energies for that. So we're going to be doing a brainstorm video on that. He says Monday, but I'm pretty sure we have a holiday on Monday, so we won't be at work. So we will probably do the brainstorming video on Tuesday, have that posted Tuesday. And because of the short week, we might back it up to do the Friday deck tech, which he may be on his own because we work different days, or we may speed it up and just do it Thursday anyway. We'll let you know later down the road on a couple videos, but just like all these videos, we want you to check all these out. Check every one of them out. If you're into Magic the Gathering, into watching videos, people playing games, people talking about decks, people opening packs, whatever. We got all that here on our channel, so please check them out. Don't forget to subscribe, share, check your Twitter, retweet, all this stuff. There's a giveaway on that too, so don't miss out on these giveaways. That right there is our deck tech for Timestream Navigator, and I will catch you on the next video. Deuces.